and welcome to Miss Dennison's Remote Learning Classroom. I'm going to be speaking today about self-regulation classroom and what it looks like. Self-regulation is defined many different ways, but for me it teaches that the student takes control of their own learning and their own behavior. Today I'm going to show you a few different ways that I incorporate into my classroom teaching. These ideas can be used remotely or inside your classroom. For this episode, I'm going to show you how I teach learning objectives and standards. So before I start any lesson, I always write on the board the standard. So I write standard. So I'm going to just use this as an example. So the standard I'm going to use is determine a theme of a story drama or poem from details in the text. Okay, so this says what the standard is. It says, determine a theme of a story, drama, or poem from details in the text. The great thing about standards is it shows you exactly what they are going to learn for that lesson. So they can use that to know ahead of time what we're about to start teaching. But I go one step further. So when we write lesson plans, we always have an objective, okay? And it's catered to all of our students. So it's just a blank learning objective that shows what we are measuring. However, I believe that the students can also make their own learning objective. And who better to put a goal for themselves but themselves? Because they know how they learn. They know what works best for them. And I like that it makes it more personal. So not only do I teach the standards before I start a lesson, but then I also write lesson objective, okay? And I always give an example, and I always give them a starter. But by the end of the year, my goal is that I won't give them a starter. They will do it themselves automatically before any assignment. So I'm looking at the standard. I know now what I'm teaching. They now know what they're going to be learning. And usually by now I would say, like for this, I would say what story, drama, or poem. I would give the title. So right now we are working on The Man Who Loves Clowns. It's one of my favorite books. So I am going to make this tailored to that story. And my lesson objective would be, at the end of this lesson, I, not student, that's what we write on ours, but they need to write the word I. They can also put their name. They could put, at the end of this lesson, Madison Graves. Or at the end of this lesson, I. So it's two different choices that they can use, but it has to be personal to them. At the end of this lesson, I will be able to determine the theme of the story, The Man Who Loved Clowns. Okay. So now they have an objective that they can model after. Okay. At the beginning of the school year, when they are just starting to learn how to write learning objectives, I'm fine with them taking a lot of what I write. But towards the middle, the end, I won't model this as much. And so you're probably thinking, well, where do they write this down? So at the top of every assignment I give, the standard is right up there. And underneath is the lesson objective that they fill in themselves. And then at the bottom of their paper, we have them rate themselves. So on a scale of 0 to 5, do you believe that you accomplished the lesson objective? Why or why not? Okay. I like to use open-ended questions, so why or why not is used frequently in my room because that way it gets them thinking critically, and then it's not my point of view, but their own point of view. And that's very important to teach, especially younger kids. The sooner we get them modeled into self-regulation, the sooner they're going to have more success in school, more success at home, and when they're ready for college, they're ready for college. They know what to expect. Because there won't be a teacher standing up here and saying, okay, this is your standard, this is your learning objective. They have to be able to make their own goals, set their own ways of learning, set their own schedules, and that's what we kind of start to model for them. So one thing that I do a lot in my classroom is I model the behavior. So not only do I write in my lesson plans, my standards, my objectives, but I then take that and I build onto it. And I make goals for myself at the beginning of the day. At the beginning of the day, all the kids are on my carpet and we talk about Miss Dennison's goals for the day. Okay, and I have had some really simple ones to start off with. Like Miss Dennison loves her coffee. She loves coffee. But Miss Dennison is only going to have 1 cup of coffee today. That's my goal. So it's something that they can see and they'll know. So if I say, Miss Dennison is going to go to the restroom and I'm bringing my coffee mug, they know that Miss Dennison is probably about to break her own goal. And a lot of the students will be like, stop. You can't get your coffee. Remember your goal. So I'm modeling how to do the goals. And yes, some of them are silly like that, especially in the beginning. But then I build onto it. So by the middle of the year, my goals may change to something more about the classroom and less about me. So my goal for the day is that everybody gets excited during our science experiment. That could be my goal. And then at the end of the science experiment, I can then take a poll. Did you guys get excited? Did I do a good job teaching that science? And then they can raise their hand, yes or no. And I can be like, did I make my goal then? I did make my goal. That's awesome. I'm going to give myself a pat on the back. Okay? I do both intrinsic and extrinsic. But for myself, I only model intrinsic. Okay, I don't do the extrinsic for myself because they need to see that I am proud of myself, that I accomplished this, so that towards the end of the year, that's what they are striving for. Not for a piece of candy in my treasure box, but that I did it. I did a good job. So every day we start our lessons like this. But I also want them to have personal goals. So during this carpet time, when I am making my goals, they will go back to their seat and get their goal journal out. So every student has a goal journal, and it looks like a little diary from like the 90s. Just a cute little diary that all of them have, and they write down the date and their goal. And then underneath it, it will say, did I accomplish this goal? And I always start off with daily goals. But within a couple of months, I want to try and get them into weekly goals. So something harder to strive for. It's easy to accomplish 1 goal a day, but to have it last longer is a lot harder for kids, especially younger kids, like in my 4th grade class. And this is great also for special needs kids. Special needs kids love to set goals for themselves, but they are so used to us doing it for them. This gives them some kind of control over their own learning and their own education. And it makes them feel empowered. So it can work for every student. Another thing that we like to do remotely, so I'm going to give you some remotely. You can do this remotely because that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just making a video that I can show my class. I do a lot of videos in my class during remote. That way they can still see my face and everything, and they're just all excited. And they can still see me teaching the normal way that I would teach inside a classroom. So another way that we do is called Padlet. Padlet is great for goals. So each kid can get on Padlet and everyone can see each other's goals. And you can even write comments to others like, hey, it looks like you got your goal today. Great job. And then we can all celebrate. And we check our goals all the time. So it's one of the first things that we do is we set a goal, and then by the end of the class period, we go back and we check, and then we celebrate those ones who have achieved their goals. And the ones who have not, we carry that goal on. So they don't just rewrite the goal. We say, you know what, you can do this. I believe in you. So why don't you make that goal for tomorrow's goal? And then it continues until then they accomplish it. And then we can really celebrate it because we know how hard they struggled to get to that goal. Then it's a huge celebration for them. So what I want you guys to take a look at now is how similar the objectives is to the standards. So when starting out, sometimes the kids get a little confused. So make sure that you let them know that it has to go with the standard. It's very important that you teach both the standard and the learning objective together, or they might be missing some of the pieces and their learning objective may not make a lot of sense geared towards the standard. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video of a way to teach learning objectives and standards inside your classroom. I hope this is something that you guys all take away and are excited about doing. I know it's a little bit more work for teachers because you've already had the standards, you've already done all of this in your lesson plans. However, it's really a simple, easy thing that you can do to kind of get them towards self-regulation. All right, well, thank you for joining me, and I hope you guys enjoyed the rest of this presentation that I am so excited to be sharing. I want to thank the principal for seeing this in me and seeing my classroom and letting me present some of my ideas. Thank you.